When I was little, I used to tiptoe through our house. Not because I liked being quiet, but because I never knew what kind of mood my mother would be in. If she was smiling, mornings felt warm and safe. If she wasn't, the air turned sharp, every sound felt like a mistake waiting to happen. That's what it's like living with a narcissistic parent. You don't grow up with them, you grow up around them. My mother loved attention the way flowers love sunlight, and if she didn't get it, she'd wither, worse, rage. At every family gathering, she would talk about herself for hours. Every compliment was a lifeline. Every silence was an insult. If someone mentioned me, she'd find a way to make it about her. "He gets that talent from me," she'd say, smiling just wide enough to make it look like pride. But pride and possession are two very different things. She didn't raise me to be happy. She raised me to reflect her. When I was 10, I drew a picture of her. I spent hours getting every detail right: the hair, the smile, the necklace she never took off. When I gave it to her, she barely looked at it. She said, "My nose isn't that big." Then she handed it back. That was the first time I felt that quiet, invisible shame, the kind that makes you apologize for existing. And I did. I said sorry, even though I didn't know what I'd done wrong. By the time I was a teenager, I had learned the rules. Don't argue, don't outshine her, and never, ever make her feel wrong. Because when she felt small, she made me smaller. She'd say things like, "You think you're smarter than me?" Or, "If you really loved me, you'd do what I ask." And so I did. I carried her moods like they were my responsibility. Her sadness became my fault. Her anger became my job to fix. That's what narcissistic parents do. They teach you that love is a transaction and guilt is the currency. I moved out at 21. Not in anger, just exhaustion. I didn't even tell her until I was already gone. She called me that night. I remember her voice, sweet but sharp underneath. "You've abandoned me after everything I've done for you." And I almost went back because the guilt was louder than my peace. But I didn't. That was the first night I slept without fear of a door slamming. The first night the air didn't feel like glass beneath my feet. It was quiet, and for the first time, quiet felt safe. Freedom was strange at first. I didn't know how to make choices without asking for permission. I didn't know how to accept praise without waiting for criticism. Therapy helped me see it's the pattern, the control, the invisible leash. My therapist asked me, "When was the last time you felt loved by her?" I couldn't answer, because love in our house was a spotlight. It blinded me so she could shine. Years passed, and little by little, the guilt began to fade. I started laughing more, started saying no and not explaining why. Started realizing that peace don't sin, T mean you recalled it, means you finally stopped bleeding for someone else's comfort. Then one day, my mother called again. She said, "You never talk to me anymore." And I said, "Because when I do, you don't listen." She didn't like that. She said I'd changed, that I was selfish now, and maybe I am. But sometimes being selfish is just what happens when you finally start choosing yourself. The last time I saw her, she hugged me. It felt awkward, unfamiliar, like hugging a stranger who used to know my name. She asked, "You don't hate me, do you?" And I told her the truth. "No, I just don't let you hurt me anymore." She blinked like she didn't understand, and maybe she never will, but I do. Because healing isn't about making them see what they did, it's about seeing yourself clearly for the first time. Sometimes I still walk carefully, still catch myself apologizing too quickly, still flinch at sudden anger. But now, when that happens, I take a breath, plant my feet, and remind myself I'm not in that house anymore. I don't have to earn love. I don't have to fix anyone, and I don't have to apologize for being free to anyone who grew up walking on eggshells, who learned to stay small so someone else could feel big I. Hope you know this. You, Dante, have to keep tiptoeing through your life. You're allowed to take up space. You're allowed to be loud, to laugh, to rest. You're allowed to breathe. And the moment you do that, moment you finally inhale without fear, Ella realize something powerful. You were never the problem. You were the light trapped in someone else's shadow. And now you're free to shine. If this story resonated with you, please know you're not alone. Healing is a journey, and taking the first step is the bravest thing you can do. If you need support, please reach out to a mental health professional. Thank you for listening. If you'd like to hear more stories like this, please subscribe to our channel.